Hello all, welcome to the channel. I've got Josh Martin here from Martin Properties. We're going to chat a little bit and find out how he got started in real estate investing and his journey so far. So Josh, how did you get started?
Well, first off, thanks, Jared, for having me.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I've only been on a few of these, and each time I am, it's just a little bit of a learning process. So to start off, this is me and my wife. We were just doing our regular 9 to 5 jobs, and we were looking for something else. We actually started with the username REI Stoners because we were growing cannabis at the time. Well, we were growing cannabis, and then some things happened that where the law was introduced, and that wasn't something that we wanted in our lives. So we needed to create a big change. So once we got out of that and we got into our 9 to 5 jobs, we wanted to find something else. And it was just, what are we going to do? That was kind of all we really knew. And my wife got a job at Whole Foods, and I just kept getting jobs at Legal Labs and trying to do my thing there as I kept just getting on YouTube, like all of us right now, and started seeing real estate stuff and started thinking, well, maybe this could be something for me. Although in the back of my head, it's just like, I don't know if this is for me. It seems like it's really hard. And from there, from us trying to figure out what we wanted to do and get into real estate, we found Dion McNeely. He's somebody that, a lot of people from, being online with the REI Avengers, being in the comments know him. He's been on Bigger Pockets. He does some of the boot camps there. So he's fairly well known.
That's how we met. Yeah.
Yeah. And once we found him, that was kind of the click to, I think we need to do real estate. And so that's when we just made this, move to, all right, let's do it. Let's do real estate.
Speaking of moving, didn't you move states? Like you started somewhere else and then moved to Washington, was it? Or
yeah, well, once we figured out, we wanted to get into real estate, we lived in California, and there's no way we were going to buy in California. So we just decided, let's figure out a market we wanted to be in. And Dion was in Washington. We ended up coming up here and meeting up with him, having lunch. And after that, my wife, she really fell in love with Washington. She's always wanted to come up here. And this was our second time up here. And we stayed for a week. And she was just like, I can transfer up here. This seems like a great place. Let's do it. And I had been running the numbers and they seemed to fit. And Dion talks about, the numbers working in this area. So we, figured, all right, let's make the move. And, in doing so, we started to realize we were going to save about $6,000 a year. And that was very, very helpful in getting us to save to get to the point where we are today.
that's awesome, man. Talk about commitment, moving states and uprooting. And then you bought a property or something in Washington, right? A duplex, I think.
Yeah. So after, just kind of grinding, doing the work every day, Michael Zuber, he's the one who threw this event in Vegas. A lot of
That
us.
we met at in person. Yeah.
Yeah. And during some of my the videos that I had watched from him, I learned how to run the numbers every day. And so that's basically what I did. I just ran the numbers every day. We went to our 9 to 5 jobs, just grinded it out, lived in a small little condo. And yeah, we just decided, all right, let's keep putting our money away and find something. And at one point, my wife was like, is this even going to happen? Like we haven't found anything. And I just told her, well, there's a lot of deals out there, but there's nothing that I want to risk. We can keep our money in our Apple savings account, which is giving us 4.5%, and some of the deals I was looking at were like 2%. I'm like, I don't really want to get into something like that. I'm just going to keep looking and looking. And we were looking for turnkey. And then I realized we can't look for turnkey. We got to look for something that's a fixer upper. And we ended up, kind of started digging into that space. And there was a lot of them where my wife was like, no way. And even me, I was like, no way, man, this is like a full on remodel. I don't want to do this, you probably heard Dion talk about how much of a pain it is. And we just wanted something that was a little bit on the easier side of doing a remodel. But we didn't realize what we ended up getting was a little bit deeper than that. So, but we got into a great deal. after looking and doing all the homework, we finally found something, and this place needed some work. You know, I came and looked at it, and at first, you know, I just saw the backyards. I was like, it looks like it's got good bones. You know, the inspection's really going to tell. And I always heard Dion say, you know, once the inspector kind of comes, you kind of have that negotiating room. But one of the units was, oh, it was awful. It was bad. Like, it just not bad, like destroyed. I mean, there was holes in the walls. There was doors that were punched in and off the hinges, but those are kind of easily fixable. You know, I was looking for more sunken floors and ceilings and, you know, bad bones type stuff, you know, broken up foundation. And, you know, from what I saw, the worst thing I saw was the patio on one of the units was coming detached from the house. Like, it was like 4 inches. And I'm like, whoa, that's like a hazard big time. And sure enough, when the appraiser came, they're like, this needs to be torn down, super big hazard. And, but that wasn't something I had to deal with. When the appraiser came, we were getting a FHA loan. And so it was up to the seller to take care of a bunch of the things that were wrong with the house before they can even sell. So I was very happy about that. You know, the appraiser came in as well. Once all was said and done, it appraised 15,000 more than we bought it at. So that was
nice.
Yeah,
that's cool, man. Hey, to back up just a little bit. So what was the time frame? Because I think it was significant you were in California, you started doing research, you saw Dion. And then from that point to when you moved, what was that time frame? And then what was the time frame from when you saved to get to that first property?
So the first property, from the time we met Dion to the time, let's see, we moved here, I want to say in March. It probably took us about 1.5 years or so, maybe 1.5 years, maybe about 15, 16 months. And then we finally got this property. But then after we, you know, again, doing all the work and trying to figure out and saving money and being very, very frugal. I mean, we don't go out to eat. We just hunker down at home. I was working at the time, I was working merchandising, and I was working 12-hour days and getting a lot of overtime. So we were just putting everything aside, not going out, you know, working, sleeping, you know, that was it. And we were able to save up quite a bit just between two of us at very, you know, mediocre wages. You know, I think I was started off at Frito-Lay at $22. And so I was making around that. My wife was making around, I want to say $24. And we were able to save up quite a bit of money, you know, being frugal, living in that condo pretty cheap within that time frame. And so it's been a couple years now. And after we got the place, which we closed at the middle of July last year, 2023, it took us a little bit to do the renovation in the place. Had to have a contractor come in and, you know, kind of do some work. And again, we're learning all the process in this. After I closed on the property, when I was able to spend money again, the first thing I did was got into the Lumberjack Landlords. He has a course, and I got into that because I wanted to really understand like what it takes to be, you know, a property manager / landlord. And he had a bunch of good tips. I mean, I was really wishing I should have got it beforehand, because then I would have known some of the things to do during inspection and things of that nature that, you know, I'm kind of kicking myself now, but you know, we all make mistakes for a reason, you know, for learning. So I'm not beating myself up on it. But we're happy with the deal that we made. We were able to have the seller pitch in some money to buy our rate down, and we were able to buy it down to 5.75% at a time that we were having to pay 7.25%. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, man. I got a lot of respect for you, man, and Dion too. Like that's some commitment, you know, hunkering down, not spending money. I don't think a lot of people can do that. I mean, so I've got a lot of respect for you and Dion as well. So I appreciate you sharing that story. I'm hoping that people will watch this and sort of resonate with that. At least that's kind of the hope. So you got into the property, and you said June or July of last year. So you've been in it almost a year, well, coming up on a year, right?
Yeah. So after we closed, the one tenant we needed out because we were going to move in, they moved out, no problem, no worry about evictions or anything. And that was the really bad side. And so we were planning on living in our condo and having that side remodeled. And then we just decided we don't want to pay this extra money for the condo. Let's just go kind of live in a fixer upper with the dust and all the stuff and deal with it. Cause I had listened to Bigger Pockets so much, and Mindy Jensen talks about how she lived like that. I'm like, you know what? If Mindy can do it, I can do it too. Right. So that was our plan. But what happened was, as soon as the 1st of August rolled around, August, the tenant in Unit B decided that they wanted to move out. They were going to give notice because they knew a price increase was coming and all that stuff. So they took off, and we were like, all right, perfect. So they moved out at the end of August, and we decided, let's just keep the condo till the end of August. We'll move in beginning of September into that unit, which wasn't that bad. So we're living in that side, and the other side was the side that needed a lot of work. And so we ended up putting in some months of construction in there. It wasn't supposed to take that long, but it did. So, but we had reserves. We were ready for everything. We had enough money for the construction part of it, because we knew it was going to take 20,000 maybe. We were going to highball it. We didn't know exactly. Our contractor came back at like $10,000 for all work he was going to do. And I said, let's just throw another 10,000 on top of that for all kinds of extra stuff, And so, we just wanted to try to figure out how much are we putting into both these properties that, like Michael Zuber says, that's going to yield for us in the end. Right. So I had to make sure I ran the numbers. So when me and Mary move out of here and I rent both these sides out, is it going to cover our mortgage, our maintenance, CapEx, and vacancy, and put money in our pocket? And by my calculations, it should be putting about 13% away for us. So I'm really excited about that.
So did you got the reno done, and is it rented now? The other half of the duplex?
Yes, we got the reno done, and that was done by November 1st. So that took a little bit because it started, I want to say the end of July, or no, I want to say the middle of August it started, because we were negotiating with a contractor and stuff like that. And so the beginning of November it was ready. And then we started putting ads out to have, people come and start looking at it. And we didn't rent it out until January 18th. We had our tenant move in, and they moved in for, starting the 18th, and we prorated them. And then they paid us for February, the first months, the prorated and the pet fee. And before all that, they even paid us the deposit when they first saw the house. They liked it, and they were like, hey, how can we hold this? And I said, if you want to pay the deposit, but when we negotiated with the tenants, their credit was just a little lower than what we wanted. So what I did was, with that, I just negotiated a higher deposit amount, and they were happy to do it. So our deposit was $2,200 originally. It's just to match the rent. And they ended up paying $32,000. So they paid an extra $1,000 for the deposit, and then they paid a $300 non-refundable pet fee, and they paid $25 per pet for rent for their pet rent. And they have 3 cats, so it's an extra $75 that gets added on to the $2,200. So they're really nice people, and we're really happy. We waited for a long time and made sure that we got people with really close to the credit we were looking for. And, also we were looking for background and things of that nature, like everybody does. So once we saw, that they were, clean, they had good jobs, and they actually fit the criteria, because like nobody was fitting the criteria. I mean, they weren't hitting really any aspect of it at all. So I had people with, bad background checks and evictions. And, again, it says in the ad that we're not accepting any evictions. So as soon as I see that, I'm like, why are you applying?
That's a tough time of year too, right? You said November, December. So Christmas time, that's a rough time to try to get tenants in too, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, we did it through Zillow, and I didn't understand why we had, I want to say 5, maybe 7 people that paid the application fee that didn't even fit the criteria. So, we have it all first thing in the ad, like the Lumberjack suggests, to put it right there in the ad, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and the meat of what you have, and, it just, again, people weren't reading the whole ad through. They were paying for it and then just realizing or not looking at the pictures and then kind of wasting that money, which, you know, one person came and they looked at it and they were like, oh, we were going to, you know, do the application fee before we came because we saw some of the pictures. And, you know, as I started talking to them, they realized that they weren't fitting the criteria. The husband had been, you know, had a bad background check. And so I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm glad you guys didn't spend any money on that. And they really liked it, but they never came back. So
Right.
I don't want people wasting their money. I'm trying to put things in the ad. I want to be upfront, you know, with what we're renting here. And when they do come in, if they fit the criteria, you know, I want people to be happy and, you know, have a great experience. You know, the Lumberjack talks about this all the time, is giving people a good experience. You know, you go to a hotel and you see all this nice stuff that you haven't had before, you know, I mean, some hotels, and you're like, wow, this is nice. You know, me and Mary have stayed in some hotels that were just, wow, this is pretty cool. And so we want to try to give an experience somewhat like that, like the Lumberjack says. So we did the ButcherBox countertops, and we did the farmhouse aluminum sink or stainless steel sink, you know, and we put in a new stove over there. Not the only thing we didn't do on the other unit was put in a new refrigerator. We did have to do that for our unit because all the you know, the little rubber stripping all around was going through. You can almost feel the cold air coming out, so it had to be replaced.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, man, there was, you know, we're still going to do some work over here, but it's still added into the numbers that we ran. And again, we know we're going to hit that 13%, if not a little bit more. It depends on how much we save on the renovation on this side now. But we think we got it down now. We've kind of understand like what to do and what not to do, you know, and this all had to do with the Lumberjacks course as well as the experience that we're getting doing this project. So,
which is invaluable. That's awesome.
Exactly.
I want to ask you about the future, but before I move on, I just want to, did you you said you paid roughly 10 grand for your contractor. You did some of the work yourself, right? On the other side?
Oh yeah, we did a lot of the work ourselves. Okay. I did, there was no screens in the house at all. So I ended up
windows.
Yeah, so I had to go to Home Depot and buy screen kits and stuff. But I mean, really, for all the windows in the house, it cost me $150 for the amount of screen kits and screen that I needed, and even the tool. So, like I was showing my wife, I'm gonna look at this. For one unit, it cost me $150. So both units, it cost me $300 to put screens in every single window. Not one screen was in this house.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was lots of little things like that I had to do. One of the garage doors didn't have a weather stripping underneath of it, so you could see right underneath and rodents can get in and whatnot. So I put a brand new weather stripping. I mean, cost me $15 on Amazon, and then I just installed it myself.
Nice.
You know, as well as all the painting from top to bottom, ceiling, everything. We did all the painting ourselves, and that saved us, you know, thousands of dollars. Right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a big savings. So. The future, what's the future hold? So are you going to stay in this until the end of I guess this was a primary residence purchase?
Well, it's owner occupied, so we have to stay in it for a year. I mean, if for some reason I come across a deal that I find and it works into where I can borrow some private money and the whole deal works and I'm still doing some sort of profit, yeah, we might do something else. But for right now, we're going to enjoy what we got. You know, we enjoy this property. We're doing some landscaping. I have my YouTube channel, Martin Properties, and we're putting out just little videos of what we're doing around here, from fixing vent wells around the house to little landscaping projects and, you know, just stuff we did inside the house. And it's kind of cool. It's going to be a little story for me to reflect back on later on and be like, whoa, look at where we started and look at how cheesy I sound in all these videos.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, that's part of the thing, is just recording and looking back yourself. You know, another thing, I don't think that people, I'm sure it's been mentioned, but when you live in a property like that, you get to learn that property. You're going to be there for at least a year, probably. Now I buy properties, but I'm only there for like a week or two. But I can imagine staying in a property for that long, you're going to get to know the little nuances about this and that. And so when you have tenants there in the future, and you're going to self-manage, it sounds like, so if they call you, you're going to know, oh, blah, 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 you have to turn it this way or stand on 1 foot in a full moon or whatever, you know? So, I mean, that's an advantage that I don't think people talk about. So I like that. Yeah,
exactly. Well, that's one thing I got to fix. The front door, you still got to pull it shut for the lock to pull in. And I'm like, I know I can fix that. And the ADU guy, I don't know if you follow Derek, the ADU guy, but he had a cool little tip in there, that there's this, where the little lock goes in, there's a little piece that you can put a screwdriver in and pull it out, and it'll actually hold it in. And I tried that, but it's not working. So I don't know if the door's too heavy, if the thing's pulled in already far enough, but I might just have to adjust the door somehow. It could be the other hinges holding it on, but
yeah, sometimes you can pull off that little plate and like scour out a little bit more and push it back and, you know, whatnot, or put toothpicks in the holes. And so that way you put a toothpick and you screw it in so it pushes it back more so it'll latch in. But
yeah, all the little things, man, like you said, nuances of the house, which is pretty cool. You know, I mean, we were happy at the fact that we have a yard for our dogs now. In the condo we were at, we had to go down a couple flights of stairs. We had to walk across a parking lot, and then there might be dogs in there, and then we'd have to wait, or we'd have to go to another part of the condo. And so, you know, when it was raining out here in Washington, sometimes it's just a pain, you know? So now we got a little cover and a patio, and the dogs can run out. I can open the glass and be like, go ahead.
Man, I'm super, super happy for you and Mary. That's awesome. I've been kind of following your story, and we talk on Dion's Talks on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. And again, we met at the ORAT, the One Rental at a Time, here a couple weeks in Vegas. That was pretty cool, where we got to meet all those millionaire folks and learn from those guys. But hey, I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to come on here. But how can people find you? How can they find your YouTube channel or get a hold of you?
I'm at Martin Properties for my YouTube channel, and also on Instagram. It's Martin Properties REI. I have it on Facebook. It's just Josh Martin. I had it as REI Stoners for a while, but I've been changing my handles over. I just want to sound a lot more professional, you know, as I'm in this business. You know, we started off, you know, again, as a couple stoners. When people come to watch some of my videos, that's just who we are, you know. And at first we were really trying to show some people that even if you smoke weed, you can do this. And we smoke weed, and we did this, and we're going to keep on doing this. So, you know, it's just now we're trying to change it. We want to be a bit more professional. You know, if I was to go out there and start pitching being a property manager at some point, I can't go out as REI Stoners property manager.
Yeah, some places, you know, we're in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in Oregon right below you. So the Pacific Northwest, I think, is pretty green, let's say. But other places in the country may or may not be. So,
right.
Hey, Josh, thanks for taking the time to come on here and chat with you, man. I appreciate it. And I'm wishing you the best for the future.
Hey, thank you, Jared. I appreciate you letting me get on the show. And yeah, good luck to you too, man. I'm watching your stuff, and hopefully we can do business one day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You got it.